Welcome to Learn to Live Stress-Free. This is Christine Wright with Dr. Robert Wright Jr., your go-to wellness coaches of www.stressfreenow.info. Our featured guest today is Mark Sadovnick, discussing strategies for success that minimize your stress. Mark Sadovnick is CEO and founder of Sadovnick Partners, and through acquisition, now Managing Director of Stanton Chase, under which name the executive search practice will be conducted. Mark has built a reputation for looking beyond the mechanics of search, with a proven ability to support the objectives of both the individual as well as management and executives, including the company's decision makers. Mark works to attract the best and mutual right fit, helping companies achieve their goals and align on the same mission, matching opportunity with best-in-class talent. Mark authentically walks the talk by ensuring the right fit and covers the full spectrum of the search process: human, philosophical, intellectual, technical, and so much more. Mark was recognized by Businessweek as one of the 150 most influential search consultants in the world. He gained business and international awareness from his experiences with Deloitte in Canada and JC's International. Mark proactively introduces and recommends clients and strategic partners to each other for mutual benefit of all resources. He is a pioneer of video branding expertise to support the ability to differentiate as an individual and company towards a successful search for everyone involved in the process. Mark sits on the boards of and has strategic synergies with World Language Communications, Verdi Exchange Institute, Vet Tech Brigade, and Corp Shorts Video, and is the founder and chairman of Talentorium Alliance, bringing the expertise, resources, knowledge, and relationships to his clients and strategic partners. Mark has been active with the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce, the LA Economic Development Corporation, and the Beacon Council in Miami. Assisting veterans in job search and business startups is a current cause for which he continues to secure collaborating partners. He has also been active in the Miami and Fort Lauderdale Chambers of Commerce and takes stock in children. He is a chartered accountant graduating from McGill University in Montreal. Mark is most proud of his 3 sons, and when given a chance, will certainly tell you about them. Hi, Mark. Welcome back on Learn to Live Stress-Free. We're so glad that you're here again on the show with us.
No, it's exciting. I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, great audience. You're in for a special treat. We have Mark Sadovnick back with us, and he is just knocking it out of the park. Oh, I'm not baseball, it's hockey. He is going to do a hat trick. So
there you go.
Having fun here with him. So Mark, based on your experience, your wide range of experience, what are the qualities and traits that move leaders forward to achieve outstanding results?
Well, it could be a very long answer, Bob, but if we go into the main things, I think is leaders have to have an awareness of the people around them, of themselves, of what their business is. I think leaders have to create, and this is what I love about the young up-and-coming leaders in the world, they have to a really clear, quote-unquote, why of which is the heart and soul of the business that everybody buys into, that everybody knows what it is, and that brings and forces, that's the heart and soul of your business that prevents burnout, prevents people from thinking they're just having a job, but they truly have a why for what they're doing. So I'd said it briefly before, our why for our executive search and consulting business is to make a difference for management, make a difference for their business. The other part of the why is to make a difference for the individuals that we are introducing to them for positions, and for that matter, even their families. So that's important, to create a very strong why for their organization. The other thing is to create trusted conversation. Trust evolves, so they've got to be able to create a safe environment for trust and a safe environment for people to contribute and say things. We did a video roundtable a number of months ago at the same time as the thing was happening with the LA Clippers and the owner Donald Sterling, and we did a video roundtable with Carolyn Bivens, who was an executive with USA Today early on and was the first female commissioner of any sports league out there ever. In this case was the LPGA. And we also had Franco Harris, who was an NHL NFL, sorry, Pittsburgh Steeler, Hall of Fame, Super Bowl champion, African American, Italian, business owner, multiple businesses, and the roundtable was about leadership and prejudice. And one of the main key points of the whole thing was a leader has to create a safe environment for people to be able to stand up for their why, stand up for their values, to have a better experience and better results in the company that they're all working to get what they want to do. Safe environment means if somebody's bullying, if somebody's discriminatory, if somebody's something like happened with the Clippers, then people feel safe that they can speak up and make it the place they want to be and make a difference how they want to, what they want to do. And that truly is a leader that brings that to the table for their organization.
Thank you, Mark. So much of the work that you do, communication is key. Could you talk a little bit about the role of communication, especially at executive levels?
Voulez-vous en français or hablo en espagnol or English?
Any language you choose.
OK, mais je viens de Montréal, ça c'est important si vous parlez le bon français.
We're on St. Catherine Street now. I love this.
Ah oui, c'est français et espagnol aussi, c'est les langues romantiques. Ça c'est un bon avantage aussi. Mais probably your audience doesn't really get the French, so I won't continue in French. But the point is, you do have to speak in a way that people will understand what you're talking about, obviously, but understand where you're coming from as well. You have to speak from a perspective of respect, no matter what the age group. If you're younger or older, speaking to younger or older, there still has to be respect, which I think needs to be revived to some degree in our world today overall. I'm on the board of an organization called World Communications and World Language Communications, and it's a global translation company. We try to be involved in the synergies with organizations that anything related, anything about talent, and whatever language you speak, it doesn't really matter as long as it can be communicated and the other person understands. And these days that's getting easier to do, but the point is, without communication, whether it's in a business or in a relationship or whatnot, first of all, it's certainly not going to be as much fun sharing experiences, sharing knowledge. You can't do that without communication. And the best thing in the workplace is, let's put it the other way. The worst thing in the workplace is if things aren't said and things are simmering and they get worse, or gossip's going around and things aren't said, or someone wants to make a contribution for a better way of doing things, or someone wants to speak up, as I said previously, about a discriminatory thing. Without that, it'll just get worse. With that, people feel like free, that they can really contribute, and that'll make all the difference in the world for the organization. And the other thing is, somewhere it came up, and if Bob brought it up or whatnot before, a true leader also now goes down onto the production floor and says hello to people, and realizes the people that are really doing the work are the ones out there, and they know what works and what doesn't work. And everybody at any level, NASA, there used to be a story about NASA, how the janitor actually felt that he was part of the process of getting to the moon, because he was, and they recognized him for it, and they communicated it, that he did make that difference, and the guy felt like he was on the moon himself, basically. So it's a no-brainer. You just got to be open to communicate.
Very definitely, and I think everyone likes to be acknowledged. It's so important in our day-to-day. When you were doing your conversation in different languages, that brought to mind something I'm sure you're aware of, that if you're speaking in the same language, depending on where you are in the world, you can get in a little bit of trouble with your idiomatic expressions. That something I always say to Bob is you need to have a little grace in the equation. A phrase in American English may not go over so well in Canadian or British or Australian English, when we talk about the boot, or, this is a word from way back, your grip, meaning your suitcase, not a grip.
Mm-hmm.
So, You don't know what you're talking about. So depending on where you are, and there are also certain behaviors in different cultures that it's a nonverbal communication too. That's certainly being in the international arena the way you are, that plays a part. You know, Bob's traveled to many countries. I remember we were in Japan, and I looked around. I said, "Where's Bob?" And he was being interviewed by the newscasters, and I'm like, "I'm with a celebrity here." I don't know why they seem to gravitate towards him, and he was using as few words of Japanese. You know, I think I can count to 10 in 5 languages. But this aspect too, Mark, of different cultures sitting together at the table and getting their meaning across. How do you find that plays out in your work?
I mean, basically all the time. You know, when I was executive director of JC's International, and we used to go to different countries, we prepped on all that stuff. We prepped on everything from body language to hand language to certain phrases and words and whatnot. I mean, I remember when I was at Deloitte and Touche, and these managers came over from Wales, and we were just young grunts, and they would say, "Hey, boyo, can you give me one? Can you grab me a rubber?" And I'd say, "What are you talking about? Grab you a rubber?" I mean, we thought it was something else, and it wasn't what he was talking about. But it was the eraser. He wanted me to give him the eraser, and so it goes without saying, and we did that a lot. We prepared, because it's important that you don't make a stupid mistake and point your finger when you're not supposed to point a finger, or refuse to take a drink in Taipei for whatever reason, and bow in a different place. And when you toast somebody in let's say China, out of respect, you should dig their glass just a little lower than their glass, and all sorts of things like that can win you respect, and not only win you respect, but just being respectful, knowing it, and you don't have to speak every language, by the way. People respect and appreciate that you just try, like with those 10 words or whatever you're talking about. They just try to engage with them, and it doesn't take a lot before you're going to a country. Because I remember my first time to Israel years ago. I had spoken. I knew some Hebrew and how to read it and whatnot, but I learned different phrases and everything. I made sure I knew how to, Hatikva, the national anthem, so I could sing it when I was there, and I still know it. And, people appreciate the effort. They appreciate that you want to communicate. They're not looking for perfection. In fact, they're not expecting or want perfection. What they want is a person that's going to be able to be with them and be real and authentic. And that's what the young people, young leaders of today are looking for all the time. They're looking for authenticity and transparency. They're not as much interested in fact, it's very funny, most of them aren't interested in getting their driver's license right away. That's the most important thing, or the biggest house, or this car or that car. They're interested in experiences, with other people. And they can teach us, they can bring us back to that used to be to a great degree, and more and more. So learning cultures, learning languages, engaging the people that way, it's anybody who wants to do that. If you're not doing it, they're missing out, because it's spectacular what you can feel, what you can experience, what you can gain from it for your own benefit, and just for doing the right thing out there as well.
Well, thank you for that, Mark. I'm so glad that you said that. The example that you gave with the eraser, now I don't have to be embarrassed, because you did a whole brain synchrony thing. I was actually going to use that example. There's a friend of mine who's a senior manager at Verizon, and she was talking about one time when they have people come from in the UK, that one of the first things they do is talk to them about, here's some things in this context, don't have the same meaning. And the example you gave was one of the meanings. And there's a level of shock. And then the other thing I was thinking about, in some countries, I remember reading a book, and it was talking about, as Americans, we have the habit of crossing our legs. And I was reading somewhere that if you cross your legs someplace and show the sole of your shoe, that's offensive. Mm-hmm. And so I had not known that. And so there are many things like that. And our society here tends to be very extroverted, whereas other societies are introverted much more. And the best example I can think of is that in our culture, direct eye gaze is considered to be a level of confidence and trustworthiness, but in other cultures, some other cultures, if you look someone directly in the eye, it's seen as a challenge or a threat. And so in terms of that's nonverbal communication, but very much in play.
Very definitely. Well, we will take a short break here. Audience, we'll be back in a moment to continue our conversation with Mark Sadovnick on Learn to Live Stress-Free.
Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Wright, Jr., the Stress Relief Doctor, co-host of the Learn to Live Stress-Free podcast series. I'm an author, speaker, and stress management wellness coach. My published study is the first to show the connection between stress reduction, grief recovery, nitric oxide spiking, and the relaxation response. And my practical application of this knowledge helps you relieve the stresses of everyday life. I have the tools to dissolve your pain points quickly and effectively. Email me to find out how you can start to feel better now at stressfreenow.info/contact. That's stressfreenow.info/contact. Have you been procrastinating about completing an important project or pursuing a treasured dream? Christine Wright specializes in helping her coaching clients to lay out clear, elegant strategies. She shows you how to quickly build your confidence to uncover and eliminate your habitual patterns of resistance and self-sabotage. Christine helps you discover those meaningful insights that will get you to do what works so you can celebrate your successes. Go to stressfreenow.info/contact to let Christine know that you're ready to live your ideal life now. Again, that's stressfreenow.info/contact.
Welcome back to Learn to Live Stress-Free as we continue our conversation with Mark Sadovnick.
We were talking about several things, and one of the things that occurs to me is that you mentioned resilience. In your experience, how important is it for an executive or entrepreneur to have that trait of resiliency and stress hardiness in your experience?
Well, not to state the obvious, but it starts with your why. It starts with your vision, and for your own well-being and your own chances of being successful, you've always got to keep that in mind, and that relates to resilience in the sense of never giving up. Being honest, being authentic with yourself and with everybody you're engaged with as to your commitment, your seriousness, your dedication to going towards achieving your why and achieving your vision. It's also important for your teammates, your partners, your employees, your vendors, everybody, your investors for sure, that they see that you are resilient, that they see that you can adapt while keeping consistent with your values and your integrity and going for that why. If comparing to sports again, players want to know that management's behind them to win, no matter what. Employees and investors and everybody in between wants to know that you are leading the way, and you're not giving up, but you're also adaptable. And what I mean by adaptable is, it's always talked about, especially in startups and growing businesses, that you've got to keep looking straight forward, at your vision, at what your milestones are, what your goals are. And sometimes that's misinterpreted, especially by young entrepreneurs, that I got to keep going straight. Keep going, be persistent, being resilient. Well, resilience is also keeping your eye on that, but at the same time, to use a key word that's often used, is you need to know when to pivot. And pivoting doesn't mean you're off course. Pivoting means you're resilient in the sense that you can listen to other input, other market conditions, other things that are going on in competitors to be able to move forward towards that goal, towards that objective. That's also resiliency, that you're able to take that in, and it doesn't damage your core. It actually improves you, and you keep going straight towards that objective. You're not detouring from your focus. You're actually being adaptable and able to pivot towards that one goal, that one objective, the championship for the team.
Great, Mark. While you were talking, what it made me think of is the way a plane works. When a pilot's flying a jet, what I've been told is that 99% of the time the plane is off course, and so throughout the entire flight, what is in the computer is engaged in is course correction, and so the plane takes off, going from LaGuardia to say to Chicago, and most of the time it's actually off course by whatever percentage or degrees, but it lands on time and because of the constant course correction. So I think that's great what you have said. Now, in terms of sports, since you brought that issue up, and I think that is very relevant. In your experience, Mark, what specific athletic skills have you found that are transferable in business? I mean, I know that what comes to my mind immediately, somebody in the C-suite level, there would have to be mental toughness, the ability to execute flawlessly. I was thinking of the example of I read a book a while back called Why Winners Win, and it was talking about Michael Jordan when the coach called a timeout, and they asked him what was he thinking about during the timeout because there was only 5 seconds left in the game, and he said, I'm thinking about chewing my gum. And he says, in order to take the shot with no pressure, he says, I execute just like practice. He says, I'm the first guy on the court and I'm the last guy to leave for practice. So I was wondering, does that aspect come into play in the business setting?
I think everything from the sports comes into play in the business setting, starting from when you're a kid. I've played, I've coached a lot. I've learned as much from the players I've coached equal to the coaches I've played for. And the first thing starts with the thing that I always believe that should be taught, to kids in sports is that their self-esteem and confidence and ability to prepare. The execution, the ability to skate faster and better, and the ability to catch the ball and all that stuff. That'll come. Talent will play a big part in that. But if you don't have the self-esteem, if you don't have the confidence, if you don't learn, how to do things right, how to work in a team environment, then the rest will be for naught, no matter how talented you are. So that's the same in a business. When you're starting up a business, set up that culture, set up that, the best word is culture of the teamwork, of knowing who you are. People like to be around people that are positive, people that know where they're going, and can prepare and plan, for the game, basically. The other thing that's very important in sports that absolutely plays a part into business is the evolution of trust. You've got to create a culture that's safe for people to talk openly and directly. Directly doesn't mean maliciously knocking people down. It means having a trust that you can say whatever you want to say, that knowing that your intent is it's good for everybody, it's good for the business, and people will listen, and vice versa. Managements that are more successful than others are the ones that develop that trust and the safe harbor to make decisions on a timely basis, entrepreneurial style, to take advantage of opportunities, and be able to discuss them, engage in them, and pick the best parts of that discussion and move forward. The ones that don't create that safe place for that conversation usually have people not stating certain things in meetings and waiting to talk behind the back to the boss because they don't want anybody else to hear, or knocking people during a meeting, or whatever little games that are played that just detour businesses from being successful. Certainly, some of the other things in sports apply to with respect to teamwork. You mentioned Michael Jordan. Well, when the Miami Heat won the championship a couple of years ago, there was like 5 or 7 seconds left against San Antonio. They were bringing out the trophy. San Antonio was going to win Game 6. The players came in and they made the play, scored a 3-pointer, a 2-pointer, and the Heat won that game, and then went on to win Game 7 when it was pretty well decided already. And what they all said was the coach developed with the players a trust that they could do whatever play was necessary at whatever time. They knew exactly what they were going to do, and they trusted that everybody was going to be there to do it, just like in practice, as you said with Jordan. And they did it, and they never had any doubt because they did trust each other. You'll even get players on a team or people in business that aren't necessarily the best friends, but they trust what they're able to achieve and their commitment to do it within the system. So there's so many things that are relevant there, and that's how you develop consistent winning seasons in a team or for a business. Consistent winning seasons meaning profitable years year after year, and sometimes even winning the championship.
great, Mark. When you're saying that, it made me think of Coach Mark Riley and where he's been. When I was a kid, I saw him as a player. He was a guard. He was the guard playing opposite Jerry West. And so, anyone that knows basketball history certainly remembers him and, how he could just hit that jumper from the corner and, sometimes annihilate the players. Let me just move here quickly as we begin to wind down our interview, Mark. Mark, you have met an amazing and a remarkable amount of people and groups of people who are so accomplished. Who are your heroes? I was wondering, our audience might like to know, you're such an accomplished individual yourself. Who are your heroes, and who do you look up to, and who maybe was a mentor for you?
How much time do you have?
I know it's just an easy question.
All different directions, basically. It goes from my kids who accomplish great things and show me new stuff every day, and their commitment to getting things done, and their ability to help other people, etc. So they're always an inspiration to me. Clearly, my grandfather was spectacular. He always welcomed people in open arms. Told great stories about what it was like in the Soviet Union before, and how he just was loved by people. And he always used to say, what do I want to hang around? People that think old. I want to hang around the young people that are making things happen. And he was a great inspiration. People you would know, like I thought were spectacular, were people like Anwar Sadat and Golda Meir, who incredible odds against them to achieve anything. And there was an individual, you wouldn't know who he is, but years ago he was an Egyptian young man, and he wrote a letter to Golda Meir saying he thought all Israelis were terrible before he read her book. And long story short, he started an Israeli Arab young people's group. I met him in Montreal after he had started it in Egypt, and then Beirut and Montreal, and then I visited him at Hebrew University. Years later, he was the first Arab born outside of Israel that was admitted to Hebrew University specifically by Golda Meir. Regular people like that make a difference. And then even sports people, Jean Beliveau was captain of the Montreal Canadiens, classy, great player, during playing, past playing, always held himself, open to everybody and did great things. So a lot of people that I think inspire you and influence you along the way, and you just got to be open to taking that in and learning from them.
Great, Mark. I love what you said. One of the things that it occurred to me, your schedule is so hectic and fast-paced. I'm wondering, and I imagine our listeners are wondering too, do you have any time in your day, or do you make time in your week for play? And do you have any special hobbies that allow you to just relax and be calm and just enjoy in the moment, like to be in a flow state?
Did you just say, do I make any time for foreplay? Is that what you just said?
To be in a flow state.
Okay, did you make any time for play? I didn't know if that was foreplay or play. Yeah, absolutely. Just last evening, me and my sons were watching the movie The Internship with Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, but them becoming older interns at Google. Great movie, and just hanging together is super relaxing. I love doing that. I love playing hockey. My son put me through a workout at the gym yesterday. Things like that are moments that are fantastic, and they take your mind off of everything else. And so different things, hiking and different things like that are fun and whatnot. And talking to people is also awesome. The more people I talk to, the more stories I hear, the more great things people do. That's I'm lucky in that sense that my business takes me to talk to a lot of people about their lives, and that's special as well.
Great, Mark. I want to thank you for your interview today, and I know our audience has enjoyed you very, very much.
No, it's definitely been my pleasure anytime. Thank you so much.
Mark, before we close the show, would you share with our listeners the best way that they can learn more about what you do or get in touch with you?
Sure. Certainly the best ways are either mark.sadovnick@stantonchase.com or mark@sadovnickpartners You can email me directly or go on both those websites, and happy to talk to great, exciting, proactive, enthusiastic people.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mark. So listeners, you can get in touch with Mark at either of his websites and just email him there. That's Sadovnick, SADOVNICKPARTNERS.com, SadovnickPartners.com, or Stanton Chase, STANTONCHASE.com. Thank you so much, Mark.
My pleasure.
So, Mark, what final thoughts or key idea would you like our audience to take away from today's broadcast?
Well, when I used to go down to from Montreal to Miami on college break and whatnot, and it was yucky, crappy weather in Montreal, and the first thing I would see is the ocean and palm trees. So I made palm trees a symbol for me forever, that if I ever get obnoxious and cocky, I'll just remember palm trees, and I'll have the V8 moment of smacking myself in the head and say, hey, this is pretty good, palm trees. So, be happy, be grateful for what you got, and keep moving forward, try to make a difference with people, and it'll be great.
Thank you so much for your being with us today, and thank you, audience, for listening. Wherever you are and whatever time zone you're in right now, we certainly appreciate your presence, and we trust that you'll benefit in some way from the information that we delivered during today's podcast show. We welcome and look forward to receiving your comments about our show. Please let us know if there are additional topics you'd like to see us cover, or a guest you enjoyed so much that you'd like us to invite them back. Please contact us through our website with your feedback and suggestions. Remember, listeners, if you'd like to experience the same benefits our coaching clients get with us, including learning how to get more results in your day and easy ways to dissolve your chronic pain, stress, and anxiety, then give us a call at 954-900-2179. Mention that you heard our Stress Free Now podcast show, and you'll receive a free gift from us. Call or email us today to schedule your appointment. For Christine Wright, this is Dr. Robert Wright, Jr. of www.stressfreenow.info. Until next time, be safe and be well.